This story is titled, At 18, I lost everything after my cousin falsely accused me of SA, but now she is dying, and the truth is out. Hey everyone! Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Hey Reddit. This is going to be a long one, so buckle up. I never thought I'd be sharing this story here, but after everything that's happened, I need to get it off my chest. I, 21 male, always thought I was doing the right thing by helping my family. Growing up, I was the responsible one. Worked part-time jobs since I was 16 and still managed decent grades. Nothing special, just your average try-hard who wanted a decent future. My parents were proud of me, always telling relatives how I was going places. I had a solid plan: finish my degree in engineering, land a good job, and start building a life for myself. I was only 1 year away from graduating when everything fell apart because of my cousin, 19 female, Jade and her BS. Jade was the complete opposite of me in every way possible. She was a first-year art student at the local community college and the definition of entitled. Her dad, my mom's brother, spoiled her rotten after her mom left when she was little. Uncle Dave was poor, but he still worked 2 jobs to give her a decent life. But it was never enough for Jade. She'd show up at our house at least once a week with some dramatic story about how her dad was not providing enough and how she needed money for art supplies. I'll never forget the first time she came to me for money. It was after she started college. I was studying for midterms in my room when she showed up unannounced. My parents let her in, and she made a beeline for my bedroom, eyes already puffy and red. She asked if she could talk to me and sat on my bed without waiting for an answer, then buried her face in her hands like she was going through some major crisis. I put my textbook down and asked her what was wrong. That opened the floodgates. She launched into this whole sob story about how her art professor had given the class an assignment that required special materials, some kind of imported charcoal that cost $75. According to her, her dad had refused to give her the money because he thought it was a waste. And now her whole future depended on this one assignment. Please, she begged. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. I promise I'll pay you back when I get my work-study check. The waterworks were impressive, but at the time, I just felt bad for her. I knew Uncle Dave was suffering financially most of the time, so I thought by helping her I was doing the right thing. So I gave her the money. She hugged me, suddenly all smiles, and rushed out. She never paid me back, of course. 2 weeks later, she was back with another emergency. The pattern was set. Sometimes she needed specialized paints, or imported clay, or whatever random art supplies she could think of. My parents encouraged me to help her out since I had savings from my campus job. Also, they always sympathized with her, telling me she had a messed up childhood and we all should be there for her. Family helps family, they'd say. So I'd give her $50 here, $100 there. It added up over time, but I figured I was investing in her future as an artist. Man was completely wrong. This went on for almost 5 months. The weirdest part? She never showed me any of her finished projects. There was always some excuse. Her professor kept it for an exhibition, it wasn't quite finished, or she was too embarrassed to show her early work. I was too busy patting myself on the back for being such a supportive cousin. I started noticing other stuff too. She always seemed to have money for new clothes or concert tickets, but somehow was always broke when it came to her art supplies. She'd post pics on Instagram at clubs or restaurants, then text me the next day saying she was desperate for cash. I ignored it because, well again, family. The pattern kept going until that Friday night that changed the whole thing. My buddy Chris from the engineering department texted me, "Dude, just saw your cousin Jade buying stuff from that sketchy dealer who hangs around the arts building. Thought you should know." I froze for a second. What dealer? So I asked him to explain, and he made it clear: drugs. My first reaction was to defend her. No way Jade was into drugs. She was just a spoiled, dramatic art student, not an addict. But then I started putting the pieces together. The constant need for money, the missing art projects, her increasingly erratic behavior, the mood swings. It was like a light bulb went off in my head. All those art supplies were going up her nose or in her veins. I sat there staring at my phone, thinking about all the money I'd given her over the past months. Hundreds of dollars. Money I'd worked hard for, saved carefully, planned to use for my future. And she'd been lying to my face the whole time, using me to fund her habit. I felt like such an idiot. All those times she cried in my room, all those promises to pay me back. It was all an act. And I fell for it, Hook, line, and sinker. That night, I decided to confront her and offer real help instead of enabling her. I didn't have to wait long for Jade to show up again asking for money. Literally the very next day after Chris's text, she appeared at my apartment door. My parents had helped me get this small place near campus to save on commuting time. She didn't even bother calling first. Classic Jade move. Just banged on my door around noon when I was catching up on assignments. When I opened up, she was standing there with her hand practically already out, wearing these expensive-looking new boots and freshly done nails. The irony wasn't lost on me. Somehow she had cash for that stuff, but not for her art supplies. She walked inside like she owned the place and hit me with her latest emergency. Needed $200 for some career-defining sculpture that could get her into a special showcase. No tears this time. Not even a fake please or thank you. Just straight up expected me to fork over the cash like I was her personal ATM. The entitlement was unreal. She got used to it. I asked her to show me photos of any of her previous work that I'd funded over the past months. Man, you should have seen how fast her face changed. It was like flipping a switch from sweet cousin to total psycho in half a second flat. She got super defensive, started snapping about how I didn't trust her, and who was I to question her artistic process. When I didn't back down, she switched tactics, going from entitled brat to poor victim in seconds flat. Started with the whole "I'm desperate" routine, followed by guilt trips about how her dad cut her allowance again. That's when I showed her the text from Chris. I wasn't trying to be a jerk about it. I genuinely thought maybe she needed help. But holy crap, she went ballistic. Full-on meltdown in my tiny apartment. First came the denials. Chris was lying, he was jealous of her, he probably wanted to date her and got rejected. Then switched to justifications. Said she needed something to take the edge off, because art school was so stressful, claimed all the real artists did it. The mental gymnastics were Olympic level. When she realized I wasn't buying any of her crap, she tried begging, said she just needed this one last time, and promised she'd get help after this project was done. I'd heard that line in every addiction movie ever made. It was never just one last time. And I wasn't an idiot to contribute to this BS. I held firm, told her I wouldn't give her another cent until she got help, offered to even help her tell Uncle Dave so they could find a rehab program together. I thought I was being supportive, offering a real solution instead of just throwing money at the problem. That's when she completely lost it. Got right in my face screaming about who did I think I was, her personal savior, called me a boring loser who was jealous that she actually had talent and a future. Rich coming from a girl begging for drug money, but whatever. The scary part was how out of control she got. She kicked my backpack across the room and started accusing me of holding this over her head for months, keeping track of every dollar like an accountant just waiting to lord it over her. None of that was true. I hadn't even realized she had a problem until Chris's text the night before. She kept ranting about how perfect I thought I was with my engineering degree and savings account. Said I had no idea what it was like to struggle with something real, that I'd never had to fight for anything in my pathetic little life. The irony of a girl whose dad paid for everything talking about my privilege wasn't lost on me. When she finally realized I wasn't going to cave, she grabbed her bag and stormed out, knocking over a chair and slamming the door so hard my neighbor yelled through the wall. The whole encounter lasted maybe 15 minutes, but it felt like hours. After she left, I sat on my couch trying to process what had just happened. Part of me felt bad for her. Addiction is really bad after all. But seriously? She's an adult, and she chose that path. She'd been using me for months. I texted Chris to thank him for the heads up and tried to get back to my assignments, but I couldn't focus. I considered calling Uncle Dave myself to tell him what was going on, but decided against it. He'd been through enough with Jade's mom leaving, and this felt like something Jade needed to tell him herself. Plus, I figured she needed to cool down first. Maybe in a day or two, when she wasn't so angry, we could have a real conversation about getting her help. I had no clue that this was just the beginning. No idea that Jade was the type of person who, when cornered, would burn everything to the ground rather than admit she had a problem. But then the next morning, everything turned down to hell. My phone blew up at 6 a.m. I had like 10 missed calls from my parents, Uncle Dave, even relatives I barely talked to. By the time I checked my phone, I had this text from my dad. "Get to our house now. Don't make this worse than it already is." I had no idea what was happening, but I felt sick to my stomach. Something was seriously wrong. When I pulled up to my parents' house, I counted 4 cars in the driveway. My parents, Uncle Dave's, my grandparents, and aunts. A family gathering at 7 a.m. on a Sunday? Yeah, that doesn't sound like good news. Then when I walked through the door, Uncle Dave charged at me like he was going to kill me. caught me with a right hook to the jaw that sent me crashing into the entryway table. Glass shattered everywhere as I hit the floor. I was so shocked I couldn't even react. He was screaming, calling me every name in the book while my dad and grandfather held him back. My mom was sobbing in the corner with Aunt trying to comfort her. And then I saw Jade sitting on the couch, tears streaming down her face. She looked like a traumatized victim from a Lifetime movie. I was thinking, WTF? There's no way Uncle just punched me in the face because I refused to give Jade money yesterday. I was so confused. When I asked what the hell was going on, I found out what Jade had done. After leaving my apartment yesterday, she went straight to her dad's house and told him I tried to SA her when she came to borrow some money for art supplies. Said I'd been making creepy comments for months, and yesterday I finally tried to make a move when she rejected me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was insane. My brain wasn't even processing she could go that far. I tried to explain that she came asking for drug money, not art supplies, but no one was listening. Uncle Dave was calling me a predator. My mom couldn't stop crying, and my dad just looked at me like I was something gross on the bottom of his shoe. They had evidence, too. Uncle Dave showed them security camera footage from my apartment building's hallway, Jade arriving normal, then leaving crying hysterically 20 minutes later. In their minds, this confirmed her story. Great. I tried showing them the text from Chris about seeing Jade taking drugs, but they just accused me of trying to smear her reputation to protect myself, my own parents. The people who were supposed to know me best in the world, who'd raised me for all these years, believed her over me without even a second thought. The worst part? While everyone was arguing, I caught Jade watching me. For just a split second, when no one was looking at her, she literally smirked at me. I saw it. She knew exactly what she was doing. But who cares? When none even tried to listen to me. I was screwed. My uncle wanted me arrested. Was ready to call the cops right then. My mom begged him not to, saying they'd handle this as a family. That's when I found out what their solution was. The next few days were a blur of the worst kind. My parents said they'd convinced Uncle Dave not to go to the police, but there were conditions. I had to leave town immediately. No graduation, no saying goodbye to friends, nothing. They were sending me to live with my dad's cousin in Arizona, Mark, a bitter old dude I'd met maybe twice in my life, who everyone in the family avoided because of his nasty attitude and anger issues. When I tried to point out that I was just 2 semesters away from graduating, my dad shut me down cold. Said I should have thought about that before what I did. He wouldn't even look me in the eye when he said it. I'd never felt so alone in my life. Then came the financial gut punch. Not only was I being exiled, but my parents were taking my entire college fund, the money I'd saved plus what they'd contributed, and giving it to Jade for therapy and recovery. Almost $40,000 gone in an instant. My entire future flushed down the toilet over a lie. I was about to be homeless, and my family was threatening to permanently destroy my reputation if I ever contacted Jade. Within 48 hours, I was in a car with cousin Mark, headed to Arizona with nothing but 2 suitcases and about $600 in my checking account. The last image I have of my parents is them standing in the driveway as we drove away. They wouldn't even hug me goodbye. Wouldn't even touch me. Like I was contaminated. It felt like I wasn't their son anymore, and they threw me away over a lie without a second thought. That's what really broke me. The way they could believe such BS without listening to my side of the story. Living with Mark was exactly the nightmare I expected. His house was a dump, cluttered, smelled like cigarettes, and had this depressing vibe that hit you the moment you walked in. The spare room he put me in had a futon instead of a real bed, water stains on the ceiling, and this weird smell like cat piss even though he didn't have a cat. From day one, he made it clear I was a burden. Made these comments under his breath about kids these days having no morals and how I was lucky to have a roof. He acted like he was running a charity letting me stay there. He'd forget to buy groceries, then act like he was being generous, sharing his stale bread and expired lunch meat. If I used the shower for more than 5 minutes, he'd bang on the door complaining about the water bill. He'd wait until I was in the middle of a shower, then flush the toilet so the water would turn scalding hot. Small, petty cruelties just to remind me I was worthless. With no degree and no references, I couldn't find decent work. The best I could do was a stock job at a local grocery store making minimum wage. The work was mind-numbing, stacking cans, mopping floors, dealing with customers who treated me like furniture. But at least it was money. I tried reaching out to old friends from back home, but they either didn't respond or sent these short, awkward messages about how they hoped I was getting the help I needed. Later, I found out my parents had told everyone I'd had a mental breakdown and needed space to heal. Some people thought I was in rehab. The irony was brutal. Jade was the addict, but I was the one being treated like one. After 3 months of Mark's constant jabs, I couldn't take it anymore. Found the cheapest studio apartment I could and moved out from Mark's place. The apartment was crappy, but at least no more Steve. I didn't even tell him I was leaving. Just waited until he went to his weekly poker game, packed my stuff, and left. So there I was, 21 years old, living in a crappy apartment in a city where I knew nobody, working a dead-end job with no family, no friends, and no future. All because my cousin was a lying drug addict and my family believed her over me without question. The worst part wasn't even the physical situation. The roaches, the leaky faucet, the noisy neighbors. It was the complete erasure of who I used to be. One day I was a college senior with a bright future, a supportive family, and good friends. Next, I was nobody. A ghost. It felt like I'd been given a life sentence for a crime I didn't commit. And you know what's fun? Watching your life circle the drain, while everyone who's supposed to care about you goes on like you never existed. Real character building experience. 10 out of 10. Would recommend it if you enjoy eating ramen for every meal and crying yourself to sleep. That first month in my shitbox apartment was a special kind of hell. The place had these paper-thin walls where I could hear my neighbors fighting about money at 3 a.m., having makeup bangs at 4 a.m., then fighting again by breakfast. The ceiling had these brown water stains, and they'd grow bigger every time it rained. Gave me something to stare at while I lay awake at night. The roaches moved in about a week after I did. Apparently, they didn't pay rent, lucky bastards. I'd be brushing my teeth and see one skittering across the sink, making a sandwich and find one checking out my peanut butter. I'd just smash them with my textbook. I lost 30 pounds in 2 months. Turns out the broke and disowned diet is super effective. I caught a glimpse of myself in a store window once and didn't recognize the hollow-eyed ghost staring back. Dark circles, sallow skin, collarbones you could cut yourself on. Looking like a walking corpse was my new aesthetic, apparently. I couldn't sleep. Every night, the same nightmares. I'd wake up drenched in sweat, heart hammering so hard I thought it might explode. On bad nights, I wouldn't go back to sleep at all. Just sit by the window watching the parking lot until the sun came up. Panic attacks started about a month in and never stopped. The loneliness was its own special torture. I'd go days without speaking to anyone outside of paper or plastic, and have a nice day. Started talking to myself just to hear a human voice. I tried to keep track of my old life through social media at first. Big mistake. Seeing everyone moving on without you sucks even more. There were my parents sharing pictures from their anniversary dinner. Blessed are who are happy. Must be nice to celebrate while your son eats cold beans from a can because the microwave broke and he can't afford to fix it. The real knife twist came when I saw photos of my former classmates at graduation, all in their caps and gowns, futures spread out before them like a buffet. Engineering degree in hand, job offers lined up. Everything I should have had. Everything was stolen from me. I'd mentally break down every time I'd think about it. I got fired from the grocery store 3 months in. My boss wasn't happy with my sudden absences, due to me getting sick. Finding another job took weeks. Ended up at a call center selling extended warranties nobody wanted or needed. The job was soul-crushing. 8 hours of people hanging up on you or calling you names. But it paid slightly better than the grocery store, so yay for career advancement. My apartment got broken into around month 4. Not that I had anything worth stealing. They took my ancient laptop and the $43 emergency cash I kept in a coffee can. At some point, I really started giving up. I was exhausted, mentally and physically. Switched from fighting for a living to fighting depression. I reached the point where I saw no purpose in my life, no future, no reason to keep going. There were days I couldn't get out of bed to go to my shitty job. I'd call in sick, then lie there staring for hours, not even hungry enough to eat the stale cereal in my cabinet. My apartment became a pile of garbage. Takeout containers piling up, clothes on the floor, dishes in the sink for days. One night, almost a year after I'd been exiled, I hit absolute rock bottom. It was my birthday, 22 years old, and not a single person remembered or even reached out. I just sat on my futon that day, eating cold beans. I was slowly fading away in this dingy apartment, forgotten by everyone who ever claimed to love me. The good son, the responsible one, the one who was going places, all gone, replaced by this hollow shell just going through the motions of being alive. I broke down and cried for the first time since leaving home. Not just tears, but body-shaking sobs that left me gasping for air and vomiting into the sink. Then I just sat in the dark, listening to the couple next door scream at each other about money, wondering if this emptiness was all I had to look forward to. Rock bottom has a way of clarifying things. Sitting there in the dark on my birthday, Covered in my own tears and vomit, something inside me shifted. A tiny spark of anger. Why should I let them win? Why should Jade's lie get to define the rest of my life? I survived being abandoned by the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. I could survive this too. I didn't have some magical transformation or anything. Didn't wake up suddenly healed with a master plan to fix my life. But I did manage to shower, which felt like a huge accomplishment after weeks of barely functioning. Cleaned my apartment too. Baby steps, right? The call center job sucked the life out of me, but it paid the bills. Sort of. I was living paycheck to paycheck, one car repair away from complete financial ruin, but at least I wasn't starving. I started looking for something better on my lunch breaks. Applied to like 50 places online. Most never responded. Then the turning point came about a month after my birthday meltdown. I was at work, getting screamed at by some lady because her toaster warranty didn't cover her dropping it in the bathtub. Why it was anywhere near the bathtub is a question I wish I'd asked. When this new guy sat down at the cubicle next to mine, Peter. About my age, it seemed pretty normal. We got to talking during breaks. Turned out he was a community college student working part-time to pay for school. Had a roommate situation that was falling apart because the guy was moving in with his girlfriend. Mentioned they'd need to find someone to take his place, or they'd have to give up the apartment. I tried not to seem too desperate when I asked about it, but probably failed miserably because Peter invited me over to meet his other roommate, Adam, and see the place. Their apartment wasn't fancy, but compared to my Roach Motel, it was practically a luxury condo, actual bedrooms with doors. And the rent, split 3 ways, was less than what I was paying for my studio shithole. Adam and Peter had known each other since high school. They asked normal roommate questions. Was I clean? Did I pay bills on time? Was I a serial killer? That kind of thing. I must have passed the test because they offered me the room on the spot. Moving day was pathetic. Everything I owned fit in the back of Peter's beat-up Honda. 2 suitcases and my trusty engineering textbooks that I still couldn't bring myself to sell. Adam looked at the books and asked if I was an engineering student. I gave my usual vague answer about having to leave college, expecting the usual awkward nod. Instead, he asked what classes I'd taken, what I'd specialized in. For the first time in over a year, someone was actually interested in the person I used to be. We stayed up talking until 2 a.m. that night. Not about my family drama, I wasn't ready to share that yet, but about normal stuff. Classes, movies, video games, etc. Living with Peter and Adam changed everything. They weren't just roommates. They became friends, then brothers. They never pushed about my past, but created space where I felt safe enough to eventually share pieces of it. When I finally told them I'd been a year away from graduating with an engineering degree, Peter suggested I look into finishing at the local community college. I laughed at first. My transcripts were back home, and there was no way my parents would send them. Plus, I had no money for tuition. But the idea took root. I started researching online, found out I could request transcripts directly from my old university without going through my parents. The community college had a decent engineering program, and while it wasn't the prestigious degree I'd been working toward, it was something. The tuition was still a massive obstacle. My job barely covered living expenses, let alone school. But Peter and Adam had my back in ways my own family never did. Peter worked at a local engineering firm, doing data entry, and put in a good word for me. It wasn't glamorous, basically just digitizing old paper records, but it paid better and had flexible hours that could work around classes. Adam helped me apply for every scholarship and grant available. I didn't qualify for most, but managed to snag a small scholarship for non-traditional students, aka old losers like me who couldn't get their shit together the first time around. I enrolled in my first class 6 months after moving in with the boys. Just one course to start, all I could afford. It felt surreal sitting in a classroom again, like putting on clothes I'd outgrown. That first semester nearly broke me. Working full-time while taking even one class was brutal. Slowly, painfully, I started to rebuild. 1 class became 2. The data entry job led to a part-time position in the actual engineering department when someone noticed I could understand the technical drawings I was digitizing. My bosses were impressed enough to offer tuition reimbursement if I'd commit to working for them after graduation. My mental health started improving. I gained back some of the weight I'd lost. Started sleeping through the night occasionally. Small victories that added up over time. I still had dark days. Holidays were the worst. But the boys made sure I wasn't alone. They'd drag me out for pizza or to a movie. Anything to keep me from spiraling. 2 years after being exiled, I had a job in my field, was halfway through my associate's degree, and had people in my life who actually gave a damn about me. Not the life I'd planned, not even close. But it was good, built from the ashes of what the family had destroyed. I thought about them sometimes. But as time passed, those thoughts came less frequently. They'd made their choice, and I was making mine. To survive, to rebuild, to live well despite them. I hadn't looked at social media in over a year. Deleted all my accounts after that disastrous birthday night. It was better that way. Easier to move forward when you're not constantly reminded of what you've lost. I had no idea what was happening back home, and for the first time, I was okay with that. Whatever drama happened, whatever family gatherings I was missing, none of it mattered anymore. My life was here now, with the family I'd chosen. When I finished my associate's degree, the boys threw me a surprise party. Just a small gathering at our apartment with a few friends from school and work. But as I looked around at these people who'd supported me through the darkest time in my life, I felt I'm home again. That night, after everyone had left and we were cleaning up, Adam asked if I'd ever thought about trying to clear my name with my family. Told me that if I wanted to reach out to them, he and Peter would back me up. I thought about it for a long time. Part of me wanted vindication, wanted my family to know the truth, to feel the shame and regret they deserved to feel. But I knew it wouldn't change anything. Even if they believed me now, they could never undo the damage they'd done. Never give back the years I'd lost, the person I used to be. So I told him no. My family showed me I was worth nothing to them, and I believed them. The future might not be what I'd planned, but at least it was mine to shape without their shadow hanging over me. Thought I'd finally let go of the past. I had no idea that after a few weeks, the past would chase me down again in the most unexpected way. 3 years after my exile, I was sitting at my desk reviewing blueprints for a small commercial project I'd been assigned. My name was on it. My name. First real engineering project since restarting my career. Should have been one of the best days in my new life. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. Almost didn't answer it. But when I saw the name, I froze. It was my dad. 3 years of complete silence, and he calls out of nowhere? Something in my gut told me to pick up. And I did. And there he was, acting like he misses me for a minute, then dropping the bomb. Jade is dying of lung cancer. Stage 4. Doctors gave her 6 months. I was shocked. The drug habit she maintained with my college fund had finally caught up with her. And according to my dad, she'd confessed everything in her meltdown. Said she couldn't carry the guilt anymore. The lies. The accusations. All of it. We were wrong, my dad said, his voice cracking like he was the victim in all this. Your mother and I made a terrible mistake, son. Please give us a chance. We can't sleep the night. 3 years too late, old man. They offered to help me finish school at my old university. Promised to make it right. As if you can just write a check to undo 3 years of pain and torture. As if there's any amount of money that equals being tossed away by your own parents without a second thought. Jade wants to see you, my dad said, like that was supposed to mean something to me. Before she goes, for closure. She says she can't forgive herself and needs you to forgive her. Her closure. Her peace of mind. Her comfort. What about my closure? I asked. I was innocent. You shipped me off to live with an abusive asshole. Took my future. My dignity. You let everyone think I was some kind of predator. You destroyed my life. Took everything I had. Silence on the line. Then he started, Your mother hasn't been the same since you left. He tried next, changing tactics. She misses you terribly. That almost made me laugh. She missed me so much she didn't call, text, or email for 3 years. Now Jade is dying, and suddenly mom remembers she has a son? Yeah, fuck that. Don't you think you're being too harsh? She's dying. I was dying too, every day for 3 years. I was getting punished for something I didn't do. I went through hell. The difference is nobody cared. So don't you dare tell me I'm harsh. Don't call again. I hung up and blocked the number. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold my phone, but I felt strangely calm, like I'd finally confronted a ghost that had been haunting me. Not 10 minutes later, the emails started. Uncle Dave telling me I was heartless. Aunt said I was killing Jade faster by stressing her out. My mother begged me to come home, saying she'd never forgive herself if I didn't. All about their pain, their guilt, their feelings. I showed the emails to Peter and Adam that night. They were livid on my behalf. Adam, usually the calmest guy I know, said he'd never hated people he'd never met more than my family. Peter said if I wanted to go back just to tell them all to go to hell in person, he'd drive me himself. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized I didn't want anything from them. Not apologies, not money, not even the satisfaction of seeing the guilt on their faces. I was completely done with them. I drafted one reply and sent it to all of them. You disowned me over a lie, abandoned me when I was innocent, stole my future, and let everyone believe I was a monster. Now you want forgiveness because it's convenient for you? Jade's dying wish doesn't erase what you did. I survived despite you, not because of you. I've made a life without any of you in it, and that's how it's going to stay. We're not family anymore. Hit send, then blocked every email address. Let them sit with that for the rest of their lives. Life went on. I finished my associate's degree, got promoted at work, started taking classes toward a full engineering degree again, made new friends, built new traditions, created a life that had nothing to do with the people who had thrown me away. Today, 4 years after being cast out, I'm doing well. I have a career, a girlfriend who knows my whole story, and friends who've proven to be more family than my blood ever was. Sometimes people ask if I regret not seeing Jade before she died, if I regret the harshness of my response. I don't. My only regret is that I ever trusted them in the first place. Edit 1. Thanks for all the support, you guys. Reading your comments has been overwhelming. To those asking if this is real, unfortunately, yes. I wish it wasn't. Edit 2. For those asking why I didn't get my parents to repay the college fund they gave to Jade, I don't want anything from them. Don't want to deal with them or even see them. I'm doing good on my own. I'll consider those $40,000 as the freedom ticket I paid. By force, LOL.